Good morning and welcome to Kelly's Anesthesia Tips. Today I'm going to do somewhat of a generic video that will be helpful hopefully to you no matter what state you're in. But I'm going to use some examples from one of the most confusing carriers out there, which is Medi-Cal of California. I call this one the never-ending story because somewhat like anesthesia coding and billing rules, you really never can say this is the way we'll do it forever. So I always like to say, don't use the terms always or never with anesthesia billing. Particularly if you are in a state where you're doing billing and then you move to another state, you can't take those rules with you when you go. I also want to include something because this comes about. I've had discussions with other anesthesia coders over the years, and sometimes I agree, sometimes I don't agree, and that's the same for them as well. And I will just tell you that we consider ourselves, those of us who have been in the industry for a long time and we do the education and such, we consider ourselves to be experts in as much as we know what we know at the time that we say it. And we may not always agree. What I say is, listen, if you can find it in writing from a reputable resource, it is a fact. But you must have that information given to you if someone's presenting something to you as a fact. What is your resource? Where did you get it? We do have legitimate resources. I have some on my website. And once again, when I do the description of this, I will include all of the links except for to my never-ending story here, because that's just a Google for information you're allowed to share. All right, so on my website, under links, because Florida is my home state, although I do auditing outside of Florida, this is my home state, and this is the one that I chose many years ago to set up all of the links for Medicare, Medicaid, Florida Work Comp, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I try to keep it up to date, but it's not always as up to date, but it should still give you a starting point for where you need to go. And if you ever have trouble finding things, shoot me an email because I never try helping. I do notice my UHC probably needs updated, so I'll get around to that one. But oftentimes when you click on these, this says 1/1/21 update, and I'm going to do it just as a test. It will go to the 22 policy. How do I know that? Because up here it says 2022R. And then I'll go down to the end and it'll give you all of the updates. And the policy was last updated May the 15th of 2022. So although my link says that it is a 2021 update, I just need to update the verbiage. It takes you to the actual updated policy. It may or may not happen on all of them. Use reputable resources. Your insurance companies, of course, are reputable. They set policy that may or may not agree with the correct coding initiative, which I do have linked on here as well. We have our ASA, American Society of Anesthesiologists resources, that's our specialty. So yes, we can trust the information that they give. Also, if you are a member of the ASA and you have some specific or hard to answer questions, you can submit them to the ASA to say, okay, what do you see for other practices who do this, etc. The AANA, if you have nurse anesthetist in your practice, or the American Academy of Anesthesia Assistants if you have anesthesia assistants in your practice, or AAs. I try to be careful using that AA acronym because it also stands for Personally Performed Modifier. Sometimes it gets a little murky for those of you who are new to anesthesia coding. I said I do have a link to the Correct Coding Initiative, or the National Correct Coding Initiative, NCCI, Let's follow that one as well. This cms.gov looks a little bit different, but what I absolutely love about this website is that it gives you information for the conversion factors in all of the states. It gives you when they're updated. It has a link to the Medicare claims processing manual that has all of the Medicare rules and requirements and information for anesthesia. It has a link to the National Correct Coding Initiative. And let's hop over there now because they also have an archive for the older policies. Now you will have to, once you get over here to the policy manual, have to know your chapters or just click on them, click off. You can tell from the color coding here that I go into anesthesia, which is the chapter 2 for information. Anytime you see a red font in here, that's where the information was updated. So times where I look at these, it's very easy to see that these are verbiage changes that were made between 2021 and 2022. And just by scrolling along, you can see what information was added this year. These are all legitimate and reputable resources. And as I said, because you do something one way in one state does not mean you can carry that with you to another state. Another thing that I like to show you is, as I said, I do a lot of out-of-state auditing. I used to carry binders. I have 3 binders that are this wide each with paper policies. Thanks to how wonderful computers have become now, I don't copy and print these anymore, and I've saved a lot of paper over the years. I now save them to my hard drive. And my little trick for it is I'll put the state on the front end so that I know when I go back to it. So for example, Alabama, the last one I pulled was 2018, or that I had. In Medicaid, it was 2019, but this gives me the ability to go through and say, okay, did I already pull that policy? Because anytime I start a new review, you have to see, are there updated policies? Is the information updated? And if you can't find it in writing, it's not a fact, it's an opinion. So that's basically where I wanted to go with this today. There are reputable resources. You can find them easily enough for your state. As I said, I've got some on my website for Florida. You can hop off of those to Florida ones. If you're looking for another state, you just put in your state. Sometimes they are hard to find, and you want to try to make sure that you have the most up-to-date. Now, here's one more. I said I was going to use California as an example. So this is so, let's just say, ironic. This is Medi-Cal's Provider Training Manual for 2022. California is a large state. Look at all these different counties and cities that they have. And these are the billing basics. The irony here is that it's 207 pages of billing basics. So what I do here is I'll start with ANES and see how many terms there are for anesthesia. So in this particular one, we really only have 5 that start with that. Let me go back to ANES. We still have 5. But that's the reason why I don't type in anesthesia, because I'll only have 3 and I might not pick up that nurse anesthetist information. So there's limited information in here about anesthesia or anesthesiology services. So we're going to have to find a different manual for our billing information for anesthesia. I do want to point out something here on page 17. I did not read this whole policy. I look for keywords, anesthesia being one of them, and then trying to figure out, okay, what do we do to determine in these managed care plans what we do for each of these. And here's where it comes to you that, gee, Each managed care plan, MCP, is unique in its billing and service procedures. Providers must contact the individual plan for billing instructions. That's very difficult. So if you're doing Medicaid in California for MCPs and you cannot find online anesthesia policy, you may be forced to contact each individual plan and say, do you have anesthesia billing instructions? It's not easy, and as I started with, I'll end with, it is a never-ending story. So thank you for your time this morning. I do like to make sure that anesthesia is a small world. We need each other. We are, whether we agree with each other or not, we are always respectful of each other's opinions. As I said, be able to determine the facts from the opinions. Look for resources. If you don't have a resource, in my opinion, it is an opinion. But one thing that is common amongst all of us, and this is true whether it's in the anesthesia world or the real world, please be kind to one another and generous with your knowledge. Again, I thank you for your time. If you'd like to receive new content, I'm working on some block videos. Doris Branker, the Doris the Coder for her YouTube channel, has been sending in some great questions to the AMA and sharing it with us all. So make sure you get over there and look at some of her block videos as well. You guys have a wonderful day, wonderful week, wonderful summer, and I will talk to you again. Thanks. Bye.